The elevator doors slid open on the 52nd floor, and there he was, Julius Kane, my boss, the Ice King of Kane Industries, slamming his fist into the emergency stop button like it had personally betrayed him. "God damn it, Miles. If you don't get me that merger file in the next 5 seconds, I'll bury you in paperwork so deep you'll never see daylight again." His voice cracked like thunder over the Hudson, but it wasn't anger I heard. It was the raw edge of a man unraveling. His tailored suit rumpled for the first time in the 3 years I'd known him. I froze in the hallway, coffee spilling from my hand onto the marble floor, the hot liquid searing through my sock like a brand. Julius never yelled. Not at me, anyway. He was the CEO who commanded boardrooms with a glance, who turned failing startups into empires overnight, all while treating me like a ghost in his shadow. Efficient, invisible, utterly replaceable. But tonight, with the city lights flickering through the rain-streaked windows of our Manhattan headquarters, his eyes locked on mine, and I swear, in that split second, I saw the storm behind them, the one he'd been hiding since the day I walked into his office with my resume trembling in my hands. Heart pounding, I bolted toward the server room, my mind racing faster than my feet. 3 years of stolen glances, late-night emails laced with unspoken tension, and now this? Julius Kane, the man who'd built a fortune on steel nerves and zero vulnerability, was cracking, and I was the fool who'd fallen for him without a safety net. It started innocently enough, back when I was fresh out of NYU with a business degree and dreams bigger than my student loans. New York chewed up kids like me and spat out husks, but I landed the assistant gig at Kane Industries by sheer dumb luck. Or maybe because Julius needed someone who wouldn't flinch at his frostbite demeanor. "You're hired," he'd said during the interview, not even looking up from his laptop. "Don't screw it up." That was our origin story. Me, Miles Harper, 24 and wide-eyed, orbiting the gravitational pull of a 38-year-old titan who treated emotions like market fluctuations, irrelevant until they tanked the stock. Julius was black, built like a linebacker who'd traded tackles for takeovers, with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that could freeze lava. He wore power like a second skin. Crisp Tom Ford suits, a Patek Philippe that cost more than my mom's house in Ohio, and a reputation for being the coldest dealmaker on Wall Street. Gay? The rumors swirled like smoke in the executive lounge. Whispers of discreet dates in the Hamptons, an ex who'd bolted after one too many ghosted texts. But Julius never confirmed, never denied. To the world, he was untouchable. To me, he was a puzzle I couldn't stop picking at. Our days blurred into a rhythm of board meetings and black coffee. I'd slide into his office at dawn, prepping his schedule while he barked orders into his phone. "Reschedule Tokyo for next quarter." And "Miles, find me that analyst report on the biotech acquisition." "No please, no thank you." Just the weight of his gaze lingering a beat too long when I handed him the folder, our fingers brushing like static electricity. I tell myself it was nothing, that my pulse spiking was just caffeine overload. But nights alone in my cramped Brooklyn walk-up, I'd replay those moments, wondering if he saw me as more than the guy who fixed his tie before investor calls. Then came Elena. She swept into our world like a summer squall, tall, blonde, a venture capitalist from Silicon Valley with a laugh that echoed off the glass walls. Julius announced their engagement at the annual holiday gala, his arm around her waist as flashbulbs popped. "To new horizons," he toasted, glass raised. But his smile didn't reach those eyes. I stood in the shadows, champagne flute untouched, feeling like I'd been gut-punched. Betrayal? It wasn't mine to claim, he owed me nothing. But damn if it didn't carve a hollow in my chest. From there, the cracks spiderwebbed. Elena moved into his Upper East Side penthouse, her designer heels clicking through meetings like she owned the place. Julius grew sharper, his commands laced with an edge that sliced deeper. "Miles, the projections are off. Fix it, or you're out." I'd nod, swallowing the lump in my throat, because firing me would mean losing him entirely. Late nights turned brutal. I'd stay until the janitors arrived, poring over spreadsheets while he paced, phone glued to his ear, arguing with Elena about wedding venues. "Babe, it's just business," he'd murmur. But his voice carried the fatigue of a man playing a role too tight for his skin. I buried my feelings in work, in the grind of New York that promised if you hustled hard enough, heartbreak would pay the rent. But one rainy Tuesday, everything shifted. Julius called me into his office after hours, the city a blur of neon below us. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the leather chair opposite his desk. No files, no agenda. Just him, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with tension. I perched on the edge, heart hammering. "What's up, sir?" He leaned back, steepling his fingers. "The merger with Vanguard is falling apart. Their board's balking at the equity split." His voice was steady, but his eyes, God, those eyes, betrayed him, stormy and searching. I launched into contingency plans, rattling off alternatives like a lifeline. But he waved me off. "Not that. I mean, this place. It's suffocating me, Miles." The words hung there, heavy as the humid air. My breath caught. Was this it, the whisper I'd imagined in 1,000 fever dreams? He stood, crossing to the window back to me. "Elena's pushing for the wedding, but it's all wrong. She's efficient, like a good acquisition, but not." He trailed off, shoulders rigid. I rose, drawn like a moth, stopping inches away. The scent of his cologne, sandalwood and steel, filled the space between us. "Not what?" My voice was barely a thread. He turned, and for the first time, I saw the man behind the mask. Weary, wanting, utterly human. "Not you." The confession slipped out, soft as a secret, and my world tilted. His hand lifted, hesitating, then cupped my jaw, gentle, electric. Our lips met in a kiss that tasted of rain and regret, tentative at first, then deepening with the pent-up ache of years unspoken. It was romance distilled. No grand gestures, just two souls colliding in the quiet of a storm. But New York doesn't do happy endings without a twist. Elena found out. Overheard a hushed call, pieced together the late nights. The betrayal hit like a freight train. She didn't scream or throw rings. She went surgical, leaking doctored emails to the board painting Julius as unstable. Me as the scheming aide undermining the company for personal gain. "He's using you to climb, Julius," she hissed in his office the next morning, her voice venomous. "And you're too blind to see it." The fallout was swift. Stock dipped 12% by lunch. Julius called an emergency meeting, his face a granite slab, but I caught the flicker, the doubt she'd planted. "Miles, step out," he said flatly, eyes avoiding mine. Betrayal twice over. Hers sharp and calculated. His a quiet severance that cut deepest. I packed my desk that afternoon, photos and sticky notes into a cardboard box. The office a hive of whispers. Julius didn't say goodbye. Just a nod from across the floor, the kind that said we'd both lost something irreplaceable. I rode the elevator down alone, the city swallowing me whole, wondering if I'd imagined the warmth of his touch, the way he'd whispered my name like a prayer. Weeks blurred into a gray haze. I crashed on a friend's couch in Queens, pounding pavement for jobs that all blurred into not the right fit. Julius's face haunted the headlines. Kane Industries stabilizes merger. Elena at his side for the press conference, her hand possessive on his arm. My heart, shattered, but not surprised. Love in the corporate jungle was just another volatile asset. Then the call came at 2 a.m., 3 months later. Unknown number, but I knew. "Miles," Julius's voice rasped, laced with pain. "I need you, please." I was there in 20 minutes, hailing a cab through sheets of rain, the skyline mocking me with its indifferent glow. His penthouse door hung ajar, uncharacteristic sloppiness for the man who alphabetized his sock drawer. Inside, chaos. Overturned chair, Elena's forgotten scarf on the floor like a scarlet letter. Julius slumped against the window in the study, shirt unbuttoned, clutching his chest. Heart attack, the paramedics later said. Stress-induced. A ticking bomb from years of buried truths. I dropped to my knees beside him. Box from my old desk forgotten at the door. "Julius, hey, look at me." His eyes fluttered open, glassy but locking on mine with that same storm. "Miles," he whispered, hand finding my wrist. I ended it. With her. It was never. A gasp cut him off, but in that breath, I heard it. Not words, but the echo of his heart, steadying under my palm as I pressed it to his chest. Miles, 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 like a mantra he'd carried since the beginning, finally free. The ambulance ride was a blur of sirens and monitors, my hand in his the whole way. In the ER, under fluorescent lights that stripped away pretenses, he confessed everything. The engagement a shield against rumors, the coldness a armor against wanting me too fiercely, too soon. You were never just an assistant, he murmured, for dripping life back into him. You were the only one who saw me, the real me. Tears stung my eyes. Relief, rage, love tangled like New York traffic. And you saw me too, you idiot. Finally. Recovery was slow, humanistic in its messiness. Julius stepped back from the CEO throne, handing reins to a trusted VP while he mended. Not just his heart, but the walls around it. We started over, no titles, no power plays. Walks in Central Park at dawn, where he'd tease my coffee addiction. Quiet dinners in hole-in-the-wall spots off the beaten path, sharing stories of Ohio farms and Atlanta roots. Romance bloomed tentative, like spring after a brutal winter. Stolen kisses in cabs, his head on my shoulder during bad news calls. The board cleared my name. Elena's scheme unraveled under scrutiny, her resignation a footnote in the trades. But victory tasted bittersweet. Julius and I, we built something real, grounded in the vulnerability we'd both nearly lost. No empires, just us. Two men who'd learned that love isn't a merger, but a daily choice to show up, scars and all. One evening, 6 months later, we stood on that same penthouse balcony, city lights winking like old friends. He pulled me close, breath warm against my ear. Marry me, Miles. Not for show. For us. I laughed, the sound freeing something deep. Only if you promise to yell at the elevator less. His grin was pure Julius sharp, alive. Deal. In the end, it wasn't the boardrooms or betrayals that defined us. It was the whisper. The one his heart had always known, waiting for me to hear it too. And in the roar of New York, we finally did.